This screencast will show us how to scale a drawing up or down in order to be a correct size. So first I'd like to check a dimension to see how far out of scale it is. So I'm going to zoom in on something that I know. I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom in, for example, on this top, hitting the escape key if it ever tries to select something I don't want. And first we need to set our snap settings. If this is the first time you're running Lasercut on your computer, the snap settings will generally not be set up already. So that's this button right here, the E snap button, which is gray. When you click it, mine goes white right away because I've already set the snap settings. But yours may do this. I'm going to type in O snap. You don't have to do this unless your snap settings came up. You don't have to do this. So O snap will bring them up. And generally the ones that you want to set are endpoint, center, midpoint, and intersection. So click those and then say OK, and then Entity Snap will work for you. Entity Snap just simply means that when you start a line or a dimension, it's going to lock on to a corner, or for example. So let's measure a dimension and see if it's correct. Dimension, linear. And now when I hover near that corner, it snaps to it. That's the function of eSnap. So with that orange X, click there, and then click again on the opposite corner, and then pull down and click in the middle to set the dimension right there. Now the dimension is super tiny right there, and that's because this is a gigantic metric drawing. You don't have to zoom in on it because it's right there. Dimension text 11684, and that is in fact 25.4 times bigger than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 4.6. So that tells us the scale that we're off. Basically what you would want to do is take this number and divide it by what dimension you intend for it to be from there to there, and that's your scale factor. So sometimes if you don't set up the drawing template correctly in SolidWorks, you can get scales off by factors of 2, 4, or 25.4. So whatever it is, figure out your scale factor, and now let's fix it. So I'm going to hit Escape to get out of that. I'm going to hit Control Z just to undo that dimension command because I don't need that anymore. And now we're ready to scale. So I'm using this middle mouse wheel to zoom appropriately. The scale function is this icon right here. You can see that's a little off my screen slightly. You can also get to it by the Modify menu. Modify, and then go down to Scale. And so I'm going to click that. Now, all of these two-dimensional AutoCAD clones, like Lasercut, they all work from this text window down here. These are the prior commands that have been issued, and this is the current command, and it's telling us what it expects next. It says select entities to scale. So I'm going to click once in this corner, and then I'm going to click again in this corner to select all of that. It's dotted lines, so that means it's selected. And we need to tell it that we're finished with that. So hit the Enter key. Okay. Next it asks for a base point. This simply means what's the kind of the zoom point, or the point that will not move in the drawing space after it's scaled. So you can generally click anywhere. I tend to click in the lower left so that it scales from that corner, but it doesn't particularly matter. So click once, and it's already got it. Now you can see the mouse is controlling the scale, and at first this might be a little worrisome, like because you don't know how to control it. We're not going to control the scale with the mouse. We're going to type it in. Look next to the mouse pointer. You see that little gray box? Specify scale factor. And you see it has the number 1 next to it right now. And we want to change that to a smaller number. In the case of going from 25.4 millimeters down to 1 inch, that scale factor is 0.03937. 0.3, and so yours could be that, it could be a half, it could be 2, whatever it was off by before. This is what you want to type in. and that's registered there in the gray box next to it. Hit the Enter key, and that has now completed the scaling operation. I'm going to zoom in with the mouse here, and now we can check to see if this is correct. So let's check that dimension. Dimension, linear. Click there on the left corner, click on the right corner, 4.6. That's what I wanted. So that tells me I'm now scaled correctly. I'm going to hit Control-Z just to undo that. And now I can save this file, and I'm ready to import that. There is one more scaling that you might want to check before you finish, and that's this little control right here. That should say 1:1. If it's not, just click on it and you can select it to be 1:1. And if you want to check in another way that we are in the right scale and size, let's try a sample print. So hit Control P, that will bring up the print window, and then unclick Fit to Paper right here, then set the scale to 1:1. Then it says what to print. Click Window, Display, change that to Window. Now click Select Print Area. Now it wants to know what you want to print, and I'm going to just put this on the print. That's my window. So I click once, and I click in the bottom right corner. And finally I click Preview. And that's putting it on an 8.5 by 11 paper, and I can see that's reasonable size. It's not 25 times bigger or half the size or whatnot. Hit Escape to get out of this. That brings me back to the print window, and I don't need to print, but just to confirm, make sure the paper size is letter, and then you know that it's 8.5 by 11. Okay, so that's to check a final check on the scaling.